Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Jai Shri Vrindavan, Jai Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki
Jai.
Jai Shri Shri La Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai Shri Gurudeva ki
Jai.
Ananda Gauri Vaishnava ki
Jai.
Jai Gaura Premananda. As we were doing Kirtan, I was just thinking that today when devotees play kartals, sometimes they do so much of complex movements. But the most effective kartals is the way Prabhu was playing. The way Prabhupada gave us 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's very straightforward. You just have to keep the rhythm, and it is very successful. It makes us hear about Krishna. So, actually, devotional service is meant to be simple. That's the important thing. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Some ecstasy has happened here. I think the TV wants to be the way it is put. And you can just put the deities. Yeah, I think this is good. So we are very, very happy that rather than Prabhu, Mataji, thank you very much for having us over on the occasion of your younger son's birthday and on the occasion of Kandalpa Koti Prabhu's birthday.
Haribo.
Right? Today is his birthday and it is his 97th birthday. And we can only pray to him. I know every time we go and get blessings from him, I'm sure each one of us, he has told us that we will live for 100 years. You know, but seeing the way he has lived, I think if we could even live a fraction of how he is, we would be very, very happy actually. Very happy. So it's very nice to see you here, Prabhu. Very happy to see you here actually. I was thinking that there's a very nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It doesn't have a purport, but it says so much. And actually it is in 9.5.14 of Srimad Bhagavatam. 9.5.14 of Srimad Bhagavatam. We can just look at that verse. My Guru Maharaj liked this verse very much. And whenever he wanted to discuss about the qualities of Vaishnavas, sometimes he Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Durvasa Uvacha.
Durvasa Uvacha.
Aho Ananta Dasanam. Mahatvam Drishta Madhyame.
Mahatvam Drishta Madhyame.
Kritagasopi Yadrajan.
Kritagasopi Yadrajan.
Mangalani Samihase.
Mangalani Samihase.
Durvasa Uvacha.
Durvasa Uvacha.
Aho Ananta Dasanam.
Aho Ananta Dasanam.
Mahatvam Drishtam Adhyame.
Mahatvam Drishta Madhyame.
Kritagasopi Yadrajan.
Kritagasopi Yadrajan.
Mangalani Samihase.
Mangalani Samihase.
Durvasa Uvacha.
Durvasa Uvacha.
Aho Ananta Darsana.
Aho Ananta Dasana.
Mahatvam Drishta Madhyame.
Mahatvam Drishta Madhyame.
Kritagasopi Yadrajan.
Kritagasopi Yadrajan.
Mangalani Samihase.
Mangalani Samihase.
Durvasa Uvacha. Aho Anantadasanam Mahatvam Vrishtamadhyame Kritagasopi Yadrajan Mangalani Samihase. Anyone else? Durvasa Uvacha Aho Anantadasana Mahatvam Drishtamadhyame
Vitagasopi yadrajan Mangalani samihase.
Durvasa Uvacha.
Durvasa vacha.
Durvasa Muni said, Aho, alas, Anantadasanam, of the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
The servants of the Supreme Personality.
Mahatvam, greatness, Drishtam, seen, Adya, today, may, by me, Krita Agasaha, Api. Although I am an offender, I was an offender.
Although I was an offender,
Yet, still, Rajan, O King, Mangalani, good fortune, Samihase, you are praying for. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Please repeat the translation. Durvasa Muni said,
Durvasa Muni said,
My dear King, today I have experienced the greatness of devotees
greatness of
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Supreme Personality of
For
God.
although I have committed an offense,
Although I have committed an offense,
you have prayed for my good fortune.
my good fortune.
This is a very beautiful verse that tells us about the great characteristics of Vaishnavas. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Seeking the blessings of the senior Vaishnavas before I begin speaking something on this verse. This verse is actually part of a very important series of events that occurred between Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. And why this verse is important is because in one sentence, Krishna through Bhagavatam and Shukadev Goswami through Bhagavatam is actually telling us a very contrasting consideration between a devotee and a non-devotee. Durvasa Muni was considered to be very powerful as a mystic, but he was not exactly in the category of a devotee. But one thing that he realized at the end of this entire episode was that devotees of the Lord are very great. But the definitive point of them being great is their behavior. Not how much sastras they know, not how much slokas they know, not how well organized they are, how they can plan things. These are important things, no doubt. But the primary quality of a devotee is actually defined by his behavior or her behavior. And the behavior that is specifically stated here is that even though Durvasa Muni was very offensive in his nature, he was critical, he was finding fault, but Bhagavatam tells us that Ambarish Maharaj prayed for his good fortune. He did not counter him with more fault finding. He did not try to find fault with him. He did not intellectually try to exercise gymnastics in terms of arguments. He did not do any of that. He actually just prayed for his good fortune. Even though Durvasa was not praying for his good fortune, and Durvasa had a lot of ill will towards Ambarish Maharaj, it didn't matter to Ambarish Maharaj how unfavorably Durvasa was. What was more important to Ambarish Maharaj was how he behaved with Durvasa. That requires a lot of spiritual maturity, and it requires great restraint of the senses also. Otherwise, it is very easy for devotees to actually find fault with each other. It is the greatest challenge in Kali Yuga. And that's why Srimad Bhagavatam is so practical, because it shows us the very practical way in which we can learn from these devotees what to do and what not to do. And that's why Bhagavatam should never be a theoretical study, but it should really be something which is immersive and that we should actually try to put into our own practice. You all know that in this particular verse, in this particular two chapters, 9.4 and 9.5, Amrish Maharaj was the most exalted devotee and he was an emperor of the whole world. And not only was he such a powerful emperor, but Bhagavatam tells us that he was completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Right? Whatever that he did, he was always using all his senses, his mind, and all his activities in trying to remember Krishna. Right? So he would, even though he had so many responsibilities and so much of heavy management to take care of in terms of the entire world, but Bhagavatam tells us that whenever he could, he was completely absorbed. This is a very important point. He used all his senses in Krishna's service. He would use his feet to walk to the temple. He used his hands to clean the temple of the Lord. He used his body and the sense of touch to fall flat at the lotus feet of the Lord and the devotees. He would use his eyes to see the beautiful form of the Lord. He would use his ears to hear about Krishna. He would use his sense of smell to smell the fragrant offerings to the Lord. And he would use his tongue to taste prasadam as well as to chant the holy names of the Lord. So, even though he wore a crown on his head, Bhagavatam tells us, but he wore it very lightly, so to speak, because he was always ready to bow before the devotees and bow before the Lord. And Bhagavatam says in the beginning part of the 9th canto, 4th chapter, that because he was so absorbed in doing all these wonderful activities, gradually the effect of that was that whatever material attachments and desires that he had, they gradually washed away from him. This is very important because it is stated in Bhagavatam and in episodes in Chaitanya Charitamrita that when a devotee or a personality starts criticizing and finding fault, what happens, Bhagavatam tells us, and Chaitanya Leela tells us, is that they develop material desires. And there's a desire for sense enjoyment. Ramchandra Puri was a very good example in Chaitanya Leela, because he was so critical of his god brothers and the devotees, and he was even critical of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Eventually what happened was he had to leave the company of the devotees. And Chaitanya Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita writes that there grew within him this desire for sense enjoyment. So a very good test for all of us is actually how restrained we are in our opinions of devotees. It's very important. And therefore, you will find Amrish Maharaj practically had no time to find fault or criticize devotees. And that's very important. You will see that he was always using every inch of his time to serve Krishna and the devotees. Otherwise, what happens is when we do have enough time, the mind is so powerful that it has the tendency for us to find fault. But he did not get caught in that. So great was his devotional service, Bhagavatam tells us, that the Lord himself sent Sudarshan Chakra to actually protect Amrish Maharaj and his kingdom. Without Amrish Maharaj even asking for it, he actually just descended in the form of Sudarshan Chakra and he left Sudarshan Chakra there. So Amrish Maharaj's kingdom was protected by the greatest weapon of the Lord, and that was Sudarshan Chakra. And this was the greatness of Krishna. And he did that, the Lord did that, because Amrish Maharaj himself, Bhagavatam tells us, did not have a desire which was material in nature. And therefore automatically Krishna supplied that which he did not have. So whatever protection that was needed was given by Krishna because of his total dependence. So you see that there is a link between a life filled with material desires, a life filled with devotional service, a lifetime filled with filling up our time with devotional service, and the ability to be free of these material desires. And when that happens, the devotee is completely dependent on Krishna. And because he is dependent on Krishna, Prabhupada writes in the purports, Krishna protects him and he does not worry about it. So he was very peaceful. So the time came when he was doing a very long fast. And I think it was a 48, no, it was almost a year fast. It was a very long fast. And just when he was going to finish, it was an Ekadashi. And the next day he was going to break his fast. And he was informed that the period of breaking his fast would be limited in particular time. The problem was, at that moment, Durvasa Muni and all his disciples came. And when they came, Amrish Maharaj welcomed them. And he also invited them to break fast with him. And that is etiquette. But Durvasa Muni went to the banks of the river to take bath. And when he went there, he took much longer than he should have. And he didn't come out. So the time was approaching, Bhagavatam says. And so Amrish Maharaj was advised by his brahmanas, that time is coming. So as he was thinking that he must actually break fast, because that is also part of his vow, because if he did not break the fast at the right time, in one sense the vow is considered disregarded. But if he went on to break the fast without Durvasa Muni, that is also not correct etiquette. So Prabhupada writes in that purport that very often a sincere devotee is tested by Krishna when he's put in a situation of awkwardness. Sometimes, whether we like it or not, we are put in situations of awkwardness. We don't know whether to go right, to go left, whether we should do something or we should not do something. And sometimes what we do can be misunderstood because of the nature of Kali Yuga. And then, therefore, that becomes a big problem. So, Amrish Maharaj was in that situation. He did not want misunderstanding with Durvasa Muni, whom he had a lot of respect for. But at the same time, he had to set an example. So then he called the Brahmanas and he told them, after hearing the advice, that I think the best thing I will do according to Shastras is simply break fast with water. Because when you break fast with water, it has the ability of keeping your fast intact and breaking your fast. It is very unique. And therefore he took a sip of the water. Now when he took the sip of the water, that's the exact time Durvasa Muni came, just after he had taken the sip. Durvasa Muni came and he sat down, but the moment he came and he sat down, Bhagavatam tells us, because he was a mystic, he could actually understand that King Amrish had already drunk water without his permission. Now Durvasa Muni became very upset. In fact, Bhagavatam tells us, not only did he become upset, he actually became angry. But if you read the verse there, right, you'll find that the verse starts this way. Still hungry, Durvasa Muni then became angry. So I remember my Guru Maharaj always saying that you should never keep devotees hungry, because a hungry devotee can become an angry devotee very quickly. But he was hungry and he thought, how can this king actually do this? So now, actually when you think of it, you could either make something very serious, or you could have the maturity to forgive a person for doing something. Durvasa Muni had that ability to make both decisions either way. When you see Bhagavatam and you read it, his body started trembling. Bhagavatam tells us that his face was curved and his eyebrows were crooked in a frown. And his frown was so bad that he looked very fierce. And he turned to everybody else, including the king, and he said, "Alas, just see the behavior of this cruel man," with exclamation mark. He is not a devotee of Lord Vishnu. Being proud of his material opulence and his position, he considers himself God. Just see how he has transgressed the laws of religion. So you see, you can see that Durvasa Muni had taken the matter extremely seriously. Extremely seriously. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, the reason why Durvasa Muni behaved this way is because actually he was envious of Amrish Maharaj. When we find fault with devotees, when a devotee has made a fault, we can either choose to say, Prabhu, next time please don't do this again, right? I'm just here to let you know. And that's it. It's done. We don't even keep it in our mind. Or we could make a big deal out of it. If you remember, Lord Shiva did not stand up in the sacrifice of Daksha because he was absorbed in remembering Krishna. But what did Daksha do? Daksha used so harsh words on Lord Shiva to the point where it is not even decent to mention them actually. Only in Bhagavatam you can read them. But it was very bad. So you can see that the as Prabhupada would write, the level of mistake a devotee made is highly disproportionate to the level of punishment that is given on the devotee. They are not in parity. Normally, even in material world, you should be getting what you deserve in terms of punishment. But in the spiritual world, it should be very fair. Durvasa Muni is a mystic. He's not a materialist. And yet he became so angry just because he took a sip. It's not like he sat down and he ate chapan bhog. He didn't. right? It was not like he had a big plate, after that he was burping away and then Durvasa Muni came. It didn't happen that way. He just took one sip of water so that he can fulfill what he had to do. And that was too much already. And then he said, Ambrish Maharaj invited me to have food with him, prasadam with him. But instead of treating me in that way and feeding me, he has eaten first. This is his mistake. How can he do this? And now he says, because of your misbehavior, I shall show you something to punish you. So Durvasa Muni was really very, very angry. And at that point of time, he took out from the locks of his hair, just a little bit of a hair, and he threw it down and he created a demon which became a blazing fire of devastation as if it was the end of the world. Now the moment the demon came into being, it rushed towards Ambrish Maharaj. But Ambrish Maharaj, instead of becoming disturbed or putting his hands together and say, Krishna, please save me, Bhagavatam tells us Ambrish Maharaj did not even move slightly from his position. In the shloka, it is not just move, it is move slightly from his position, not even a movement at all. And that's why it is very nicely stated, I think it is 6:17-28 of Srimad Bhagavatam. The devotee of the Lord is never afraid of any material danger. This is a very important point. Narayana para sarve na kutaschana vipyate. Very important verse. A devotee of the Lord who is surrendered to Narayana, he is never afraid of any danger. And even if there is any danger, he is not afraid of the danger, but he is still compassionate to the person who actually is inflicting pain or danger to him. Prahlad Maharaj is such an example, and Ambrish Maharaj is another great example. So Bhagavatam tells us here that Ambrish Maharaj did not move at all, and he just waited. And the moment that happened, immediately, without wasting time, Krishna released Sudarshan Chakra, which was already there. And Sudarshan Chakra, in a moment, simply vanquished the powerful demonic blazing fire representative of Durvasa. It just finished him. And when that happened, Durvasa realized that this great Sudarshan Chakra was going now after him. Now this is a very important point. Just like fire can immediately turn to ashes an angry snake, it is stated in Bhagavatam that Sudarshan Chakra immediately killed off that demonic manifestation, and the disc now immediately started moving towards Durvasa. Prabhupada says in the purport that a devotee is never fearful for his death. Why? Because he's always meditating on Krishna. And the devotee always knows that his meditation on Krishna is not to ask Krishna for something material. Rather, Prabhupada writes in that purport that a devotee prays to Krishna not to ask something, but as his duty. What a nice point. A devotee prays to Krishna as his duty. Even if we may not be pure devotees, where we have bhav or prema, even if we pray to Krishna out of duty, that pleases Krishna so much. And that is stated in the purport of this verse. But Prabhupada also says, not to worry. The Lord, however, knows how to protect his devotee. He always knows how to protect his devotee. And the Lord also says, Prabhupada reminds us, don't forget, Kaunteya pranijanihi na me bhakta. He has stated this very importantly in Bhagavad Gita, that always remember that my devotee who comes to me, right, he will always be protected. There is no fear for such a devotee. He will always be protected. So Prabhupada says, if we simply begin our devotional service, the moment we begin our devotional service, that day we are protected by Krishna. So the protection doesn't come because we have advanced in devotional service. The protection actually comes from the day that we have already taken up devotional service. Right? Pranashyati. It is, we can conquer all these problems. These problems will leave us. So that a devotee of the Lord is very special to Krishna. And Prabhupada says protection begins immediately. So Prabhupada also gives a nice example in the purport. A serpent may be very angry and ready to bite, just like someone may lose temper with us and they're ready to strike us. But the furious snake is helpless before a blazing fire. The furious snake may look very bad, but before a blazing fire, the snake is useless. That blazing fire is actually the fire of devotional service. So therefore, Ambrish Maharaj set a very good example to us. He set the same example Parikshit Maharaj set to us. Nasya tat prati kurvanti. Right? Na asya tat prati kurvanti. 1:1848 of Srimad Bhagavatam. And what does that state? The devotees of the Lord act when these things are coming. This is what Ambrish Maharaj did. But by not counteracting, it doesn't mean a devotee is weak. A devotee is actually powerful enough to counteract all this. But because a devotee has faith that Krishna knows better, why should I waste time counteracting it? Better I concentrate on my devotional service. See, this is what a devotee does. So a devotee is very intelligent. A devotee knows how to use his time. And that's what Ambrish Maharaj did. He realized, why should I do anything if Durvasa Muni is sending this terrible personality? Let me just be where I am and let me depend on Krishna. And true enough, Krishna saved him. And the moment Krishna saved him, then what happened? Then Sudarshan Chakra began chasing Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni went all through the three worlds. He went to caves, he went to all the different skies, he went all the parts of the heaven, the earthly system. But he could not shake off Sudarshan Chakra. Then he thought, let me upgrade now my running. And so now he went to Brahmaloka. And he saw Brahma. And he said, Brahma, please help me. But Brahma gave him 2 prayers. And in 2 prayers, Brahma said, frankly speaking, that I cannot control Sudarshan Chakra because everything is under the control of Krishna. And so he left. So he thought Shiva will not fail me. And so he went to Mount Kailash. And at Mount Kailash, he turned to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva in 2 or 3 prayers also very correctly told him that even though I know past, present and future, but at the end of the day, I'm still under the supreme control of the Supreme Controller, who is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Bhagavatam writes that when he heard this, Lord Shiva advised him, better you go to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is very easily pleased. He will help you. This is coming from Asutosha. Asutosh, Lord Shiva himself is very easily pleased. And yet he's saying Vishnu is better. So Durvasa Muni leaves Kailash, but Bhagavatam says he leaves feeling disappointed. Because he thought at least he would be saved. So Sudarshan Chakra is behind him, it's running after him. And now he goes to the gates of Vaikuntha. And there he petitions Lord Vishnu. And he petitions Lord Vishnu in a very repentant tone. That is the first time, by the time he reaches Vaikuntha Loka, that he is starting to show some repentance. Up till the point he goes to see Lord Shiva, he doesn't say that it is my mistake. Never admits his mistake. He just goes there to say, look, save me, save me. But by the time he reaches Lord Vishnu, he has learned it. Now why is it that by the time he reaches Lord Vishnu, he has understood this point? Our acharyas tell us that is because he had the association of Brahma and Vishnu. And because Brahma and Lord Shiva. And because he had the association of exalted devotees like Brahma and Shiva, his consciousness began to change. In the beginning, we are very proud of what we possess. And sometimes we think that we may have status or a particular adhikar to tell someone or to criticize people or to find fault with people. But when Krishna punishes us, we must also have the maturity to accept it. When we are put in difficulty, when the situation causes us trouble and difficulty, and each one of us know our difficulties, we should look at it introspectively. Durvasa Muni had the chance to do it because he had the association of Brahma and the association of Shiva. By the time he came to Vishnu, he could understand because of association that what he was doing was wrong. And therefore when he sees Lord Vishnu, his first prayer was very simple. His first prayer was that, I pray to you, my Lord, that actually I have actually offended your great devotee. I've actually offended your great devotee. And therefore I am a great offender. Please give me protection. And this is a very important point. Because if he did not have that mood, Lord Vishnu would not have given him that nice advice. Then in the second shloka he says, without knowledge of your greatness and your prowess, I have offended your most dear devotee. Now, the starting point for us to transform and improve our spiritual life is when we have repentance in our heart. Repentance is very important. Repentance cannot take root in the heart, Bhagavatam tells us, until we have humility. If we keep saying, I was right to say this, I was right to do that, I was right to do this, and our mind gives us 100 different justifications, repentance can never be perceived in the heart actually. It cannot. But Durvasa Muni realized, because of Sadhu Sangha, that what he did was not correct. And so in the second shloka, he says, very kindly save me from the reaction of this offense. Notice this. He's not saying, save me from Sudarshan Chakra. Up to that point, he was speaking of, save me from Sudarshan Chakra. But now he has changed. Now he says, save me from the offense. Because the offense to a Vaishnava is greater than Sudarshan Chakra. At least Sudarshan Chakra will kill you straight away. You're finished. But offenses to a Vaishnava cannot be finished. They are never forgiven by Krishna. Krishna may forgive if you upset him. But if you upset the devotees, good luck to you. You'll be in trouble for a long, long, long time. So you see now, his consciousness is changing. And now he says, Lord, you can do everything. For even a person is fit for going to hell, you can deliver him actually. So this is very nice. We can really, when we study the prayers, we come to understand actually that there is a shift in the consciousness. This is the power of association. That's why Prabhu is very kindly and Mataji has kindly got all of us together. Because in association and by hearing of Bhagavatam, what can be more auspicious? This is our Sudarshan Chakra, right? We can't book Sudarshan Chakra for each house, right? Sudarshan Chakra is with Krishna. We can't say, Krishna, from this period, that period, can I have Sudarshan Chakra? It won't happen. But our Sudarshan Chakra, my Guru Maharaj always said, is actually Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is your Sudarshan Chakra. If you are reading and studying and practicing Bhagavatam, then no matter how many calamities come, Sudarshan Chakra as Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam as Sudarshan Chakra, it will protect us. It will protect us. And even if we are going to be defamed, cheated, killed, criticized, whatever, neglected, even if we are neglected, it doesn't matter. Because ultimately, Krishna will prevail. This is a very important point. And so Krishna then told him that you should go back. You should go back now to my devotee Amrish. Because I've got news for you. Aham bhakta paradino hi asvatantra ivatuja sadhubi grasta hridayo bhaktai bhakta janamriha. He says, I'm not independent at all. I'm completely dependent on my devotees. You think I'm independent standing in Vaikuntha Loka, but I'm not. I've got news for you. I'm completely dependent on my devotees. And because my devotees are completely devoid of any material desires, and this is Amrish Maharaj, therefore, I sit only within the cause of their heart. Krishna uses the word only. Prabhupada translates, I sit only within the cause of their heart. So Krishna may be Paramatma in everybody's heart, but he sits specially in the pure hearts of the devotees. That is the difference. Otherwise, demons also have Paramatmas in their hearts, but they never listen to them, isn't it? But the devotees always listen to Krishna. Then he says, Naham Atmanam Ashase, Mad Bhaktai, Mad Bhaktai Sadhu Bir Vina. He says, I'm not interested now to even taste and enjoy my own opulences. The Lord has 6 transcendental opulences, Shriyam, Chad, Yantikam, Brahmans. Even those opulences I don't want to enjoy. If Yesham Gatir Aham Para. Because my devotees only see me as the source of their destination. And so without them, I don't want to enjoy. Can you imagine that? Krishna has transcendental opulences, but he doesn't want to enjoy them until he has the sadhu sangha of the devotees. Then he says something very nice. Ye daragara putrapta. He says that these devotees of mine, you know why they are so special? They have given up children, family, properties, everything. They have served them, but they are not attached to them. They have given all this, even pranan vittam, even their very lives, imam param, they have given it to me. Hitva mam sharanam yataha. They have surrendered everything to me. In such a condition of surrender, katam stam styaktum utsahe. In what kind of enthusiasm can I give them up? You tell me. How can I give them up? You see? So actually, in one way, Lord Vishnu was giving a shelling to Durvasa. Because he was really putting him in his place to understand the reason why you have committed offense, Durvasa, is because factually you have no idea about the significance and the importance that the devotees have in relation to me. Because you have not understood that, you have very frivolously treated them in your pride, your envy, and your anger. This is very important. So we should be very careful. Sometimes the problem is, when we find fault with a devotee, we justify it. But we don't realize that the moment we have done that, we are no longer the devotee. And the devotee we are finding fault with has become the devotee. This is another point my Guru Maharaj said. You think you are devotee, but the moment you have found fault with the devotee, you have just lost your adhikar to be a devotee. And the other devotee has risen in stature to become a devotee. It's a very difficult concept for a materialist to understand. But hopefully it is a concept that devotees must learn to embrace. And then he says one last point. Mai dirbadda hridaya sadamaho samadarshanaha. He says these great devotees of the Lord, they are equal to everyone. If they treat all devotees, they treat all living entities as part and parcel of Krishna. Kali Yuga is an ocean of fault. Everyone will make mistakes. To not make mistake, either you are dead, unconscious, right? Or you are Superman. But in any which way, this Kali Yuga is an ocean of fault. So if someone makes a mistake, someone forgets something, somebody has omitted to do something, someone did something this way when it should have been that way, are we going to hold it against them? Are we going to release some demonic manifestation? Are we going to scold them? Or are we going to encourage them? Are we going to help them, assist them, serve them? What do we do? This is the question to be asked. And this is what happened with Durvasa. And so Krishna says there, Vashe kurvanti mam bhaktya, sat striyaha sat patim yataha. Just like chase wives can bring their husbands under their control because of their chastity and their purity, in the same way, my devotees have brought me completely under their control because of their devotional purity and their devotional chastity. And now he tells him, so I've got news for you. The news is, go back, fall at the feet of Amrish Maharaj. Why are you coming to me? You know, there's a very nice point in our sastras that say that if you feel you have offended a Vaishnava, don't go to the deity and ask for forgiveness. You know that, right? It is in Sat Sandarbha, and it is stated by Sat Goswami. You know why it is done that way? Because it takes more courage to go and stand in front of a Vaishnava and ask forgiveness. But it is very easy to stand in front of the deities and say, oh Krishna, Monday I did this, Tuesday I did that, Wednesday I did this, Thursday I did that. Okay, I'm done. And then tomorrow come back again, oh Friday I did this, and Saturday I did that. But it's difficult to go and stand in front of a Vaishnava and say, in my mind I was thinking of all these things, it was speculation, but I didn't realize that this was the thing that happened. You know? Very simple example, I remember I was traveling with Maharaj, and we became delayed because of a train. And one devotee was starting a program. He was trying to contact us, we couldn't get. In those days it was very bad, the phones. When we reached there, he was very upset with us. He speculated that we had taken our own sweet time and we didn't care for the time. But then Maharaj had to explain to him that really the train timings changed and we couldn't get the train on time. Then he thought, why did I speculate? Why did I not give you the benefit of the doubt? And Maharaj said, why? Why didn't you? Why didn't you? You could have given the benefit of the doubt, right? But why didn't you, you see? So as devotees, we must always give each other the benefit of the doubt. There could be a reason. There could be 100 reasons why someone said something, someone behaves some way, someone looks in a certain way, someone doesn't smile because of something. There could be so many reasons. But why are we jumping on the one thing? Because of pride, envy and anger. That is the problem. And so now Durvasa Muni goes back. He goes back. But as he goes back, the Lord tells him one thing. If you find fault with others, it is not they who are harmed. It is you who are harmed. Very important point. It is not they who are harmed. You have harmed them. Because you have acted in self-envy. Very interesting word, self-envy. And we think, how can we be envious of ourselves? But our acharyas tell us self-envy means that we are actually envious of our our own spiritual nature. We don't want to be devotees. Maya is so strong that even when we want to be devotees, our material nature overrides that. And we become envious of devotional service, envious of being in the company of devotees, envious of ourselves becoming devotees also. This is self-envy. Very interesting point, very deep point actually. And now Durvasa Muni goes back. And when he goes back, he falls at the feet of Ambrish Maharaj. Ambrish Maharaj feels embarrassed, Bhagavatam says. He quickly picks him up and he embraces him. And at that point of time, that is the point of time, that 9-5-14. That's the point of time that this shloka comes. Because in this shloka, he now says, my dear king, today I have experienced the greatness of the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For although I committed an offense, you have prayed for my good fortune. And now he says something very nice. He says, overlooking my offenses, that's in text 17, you have saved my life. This is what we must do. If we are really magnanimous in heart, please overlook other people's offenses. There is a point in a purport where Prabhupada writes, a Vaishnava never actually feels offended. Very nice point. If we are really Vaishnavas, we will never feel offended. Maybe Krishna may designate that as an offense to a Vaishnava, but the Vaishnava in the heart never feels offended. The Vaishnava feels, okay, what you've done is not right. I'll talk to you about it and I'll share it with you. But I don't take it personally. It's okay. He did not know or she didn't know. I have made such mistakes. This is how Vaishnavas think. But they never think that they are offended. They are not offended. So that is also a test for us. How quickly are we to feel offended? How quickly are we to feel sensitive that somebody has said something which is not up to the mark? Or how ready are we to say, Prabhu, this may be how you're thinking, but let me try to explain to you why I did this. That's all, Prabhu. There's nothing else. I'm sorry if you felt that way. See the difference. So the conclusion is very important. Durvasa Muni could easily have come at the point when he took his fast, when he broke his fast, Ambarish. He could easily have come there and say, King, actually what you did is not so nice. Next time don't do it again. But if he didn't, of course if he did that, we won't have Bhagavatam. Right? The whole 9-4 and 9-5 will be wiped out because there's no 9-4, 9-5. But because he did that, it is a lesson for us. But what is important is, there was no need for Durvasa Muni to make a mountain out of a molehill. It was just a breaking of a fast. That's it. Just like Daksha shouldn't have cursed Lord Shiva and spat at him and said that his obeisances which are due to him should not be given to him at the fire. He should not have called him names, that his face is like a monkey and that he stays in the graveyard. These are not words to be used. And so we also have to be very careful. The more sensitive we are to ourselves, the more challenging it is to grow in devotional service. The more sensitive we are to others, the more easier it is for us to grow in devotional service. This is the point of Bhagavatam. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Shla Prabhupada ki. Jai Shla Gurudev ki. Ananta Gauri Vaishnavrinda ki. Jai Gaur Premanand. Are there any comments, realizations that devotees would like to give? That would be nice. Sudarshan Prabhu. Sai Prakash Prabhu.
Actually, the couple of verses later after this verse,
Yes.
Durvasa Muni says the reason why devotees are able to play him in this way. That's a nice verse. Yanama should be but because always taking shelter of the holy names, nothing is impossible for the
Yes. It's just a few verses down from here. It's very true. Because they're always taking the shelter of the Lord. And therefore, really they have no time for anything else. So the extent to which we are taking shelter of Krishna is the way in which we are protected from this behavior. Sorry, Sudarshan Prabhu, you had something.
The purpose of taking on the devotional service is basically to generate all these material entanglement. So if one has coming to Krishna consciousness, comes into the shelter of the devotee, then he should mark his steps very carefully. And he should only focus on devotional service. How to improve the devotional service rather than taking on to the same mood of a laundryman going to the river and coming back without washing his laundry. So in that sense, when we take on devotional service, then look at what Mr. Goswami has spoken and done. And there are 6 or 7 panels that have been given by Mr. Goswami. If you go through and go back and go through that, then you realize that whatever the Prabhu spoke was all a shastra. Basically, nothing holds. Somebody may offend you, somebody may praise you, but nothing holds. Everything will go with this material body. What stays with you becomes devotional service. So when we are serious, then we need to shake all these things and come out of it. All this, rice in just like a python leaf is scale behind. We have to give back. Get out with all these things and come out here. And the purity comes only by sadhusanga, by properly sitting and hearing the holy name, and by spending time with Sri Lanka. And that too is sincerity. If we don't do this, then we will be just like a laundryman. Every Saturday and Sunday we will come to the temple, and then we will go back to the same place.
Thank you. Anyone else? Prabhu, how much?